All right, so the show starts now, guys. For everyone who's watching on Twitch and everyone who's watching on YouTube as well. All right, everyone on YouTube missed all the awkward part beforehand. All right, you'll have to subscribe and get the VOD if you want all that good shit. All right. So to introduce everyone, I'm going to do it in a different way. I'm going to congratulate each person. So Sinmivak is our guest today from the Ultraliga. I want to congratulate him on having a very successful split so far. All right, so congratulations to you on that. Orcs.
Thank you so much.
Oh, there you go. Orcs is joining us again, and I want to congratulate him on his stint in the LPL this weekend. So, congratulations to you.
Thanks.
There you go. And Excoundrel has internet in his own house. He's joining the rest of us in the 21st century. All right, I remember when I first got internet in a house, way back in like 2003. 9/11 had just happened. Right, and it was a very big deal, and I could play Battlefield 2 for the first time. Have you ever played Battlefield 2? I mean, you haven't had internet this whole time, so I guess not.
No, actually,
congratulations.
Exactly, this is the first time. I can't believe this technology, mate.
Yes.
I can see you guys, I can talk to you guys. I did not know this existed until this day.
All right, so there you go. And this is the Ultraliga episode, which is why we have Sinmivak here. All right, he is the top laner that is, I guess, competing with Oda Wamne for his spot, but also just doing very well in his own right. Out of all of the players, the reason I decided to invite him is because I noticed a few things. One, he's not getting that much attention on social media, although there was a very beautiful photo that AGO posted recently of you, so that was good. And two, he doesn't get that much attention in-game at all. Lucca definitely gets a lot of attention from his jungle mid. Cress is doing really well in his own right, but most of that attention ends up getting drawn to the bot lane, not really to the top lane. So we're going to give him some love today. I think he does phenomenally well in team fights, but mostly in early games, advantages he accrues are kind of like swapped for major advantages on bot. And I wanted to open by asking Sinmivak how he views his role on the team. Because for me, you do really well in team fights, but you're kind of left to fend for yourself early, outside of like that Akali game you had.
Yeah, like as you said, our main carry in the team is Lacker, so he's getting the most attention in our team. I'm just trying to like give as much space to the team as I can. So I'm trying to create some slow pushes to make some division or stuff like that to like make the game easier, I would say. Lately we started playing more around top, like I had a game with Akali.
Yep.
It didn't end up that well, but yeah, maybe we'll start playing something like this more. But yeah, my role is, or it was more about making a space for our team, mostly for Lacker to carry the games.
Yeah. I want to clarify, even though Lucca's getting a lot of attention, I do think he's actually playing phenomenally in his own right. Like,
yeah.
Genuinely, I think this is the best split of League of Legends Lucca's played so far, and this is a guy who's been hyped up a lot before. He had pretty solid performances in French League, and before that he had very solid performances in Polish League. I believe he was on Devils 1 at the time.
Yes.
But this split, I feel like every aspect of his game is putting him in as like an S-tier AD carry in the ERLs right now, which is a real shame because you can never really figure out who you would fire in the upper leagues, and there's now like 4 AD carries waiting to move up into LEC. But he is playing phenomenally, so I don't necessarily think the attention is being put in the wrong area. What do you think about your mid laner right now, Cress? Because that guy is another guy that not many people have heard much about, especially they haven't been following Ultraliga this split. I was actually really impressed when I was watching him. He probably was the only person who played the Victoriana matchup properly, which was quite a common matchup in Poland in the last few weeks. What do you think about him?
I think he's very consistent. He gives a lot of value to the team. I would say he gives the most to the team in terms of like reviewing the games or like preparing stuff. Yeah, he has a lot of knowledge. Like I learned a lot from him.
Really? Huh.
And yeah, I mean, yeah, he is like one of the most, one of the best guys I have ever worked with, to be honest. He tells me a lot about what could I do better, so I really appreciate that from him. And yeah, like he has big value in the team.
I genuinely didn't expect that answer, by the way. Someone like him to be taking like a leadership, like mentor role in the team already. I actually genuinely didn't expect that. Orcs, what do you think of AGO Rogue so far? Is there anything you want to ask about them?
I don't have a specific question. I think they've been really solid, sort of playing around Lucca. I think as well, though, even though obviously they've been devoting a lot of resources, I think Lucca and Pick have been really strong in the 2v2 as well. Sort of shown,
For
like,
sure.
even without the necessary extra attention, they'll get a lot of value, but I didn't have a specific question.
I mean, I feel... Go on, Sam.
I've noticed when you look at the Ultraliga, games tend to go a lot longer than other regions.
Yeah.
So you generally tend to have games that go beyond 30 minutes. Whereas, look at the LFL, you look at some of their teams, their kind of average game length is like 26 to 27. Do you think it's because you guys generally tend to play for scaling, or is it because you think there is more competition in the early game, as in like teams generally tend to fight you for longer and stretch games out?
Say that teams in Ultraliga are usually like reactive. They don't do plays around the map. So if someone makes the play, you just try to react to that, and that's what most of the teams do.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, players are not very aggressive, so I would say the games are very long. And usually, especially during the playoffs, you just pick scaling comps and play around that because people are scared. Not sure why is it like this, but yeah, it's been like this for a few years, I think.
I've got a follow-up question then. Do you think this may be contributing to why Ultraliga didn't do as well at the European Masters? Because when we came to European Masters, it was more aggressive, it was much more proactivity. You look at Carmine Corp, for instance, and they would just like slaughter you in 15 minutes most of the time if you weren't being proactive. Do you think that style of play is holding the Ultraliga back when it comes to more international competition?
Yeah, I think it was one of the biggest problems during last year Masters, because like last year we had a team like Kick with Zlatan and Buki and players like that. They were like very aggressive and they were making plays on the map.
Mm-hmm.
This year we didn't really have a team like that. Maybe Illuminar was one of the most aggressive teams from Ultraliga, and they were performing well in my opinion. But yeah, I think it's our issue now as Ultraliga that we are not very aggressive, and teams from especially LFL can punish that really easily.
I would maybe challenge that a bit, because I do think that Devils 1 and Kick at least do try to make things happen around the map early, and I think the responses that other teams have also end up making them do more things around the map than I see from most leagues. Actually, how much stuff gets contested early game in Ultraliga was really astonishing to me while I was watching this. I think if you do look at like Illuminar this split, they are more reactive, and basically any team outside of the two I just named becomes a bit more reactive. You guys definitely will play with your advantages towards neutrals, but Kick, especially right now, I think they have one of the smartest games that I've seen. Raxo will take any advantage and just roll it all the way to top lane if he can. But I feel like in any other league, that would single him out. But in this league, it seems that other teams know that he's going to do that, and they force their support up to contest as well, their bot lane up to contest as well, and you find whole maps shifting until you, very commonly in Ultraliga, find like a 5-man fight happening in the first 10 minutes of the game. I don't really experience this elsewhere. So I do feel like you guys have a bit more of a proactive early game overall than you might think. I do think there are a couple of teams driving this, but the reactions of every other team to it, even if they are basically second in all these plays, is still demonstrating much more of a wide map than other teams do. And on Kick, their mid game is quite smart, to be honest. I saw like the only 3-1-1 I've seen in Europe, including LEC, like the whole year. They played a Tristana game where they matched a Fiora, I believe, and they were just 3-1-1ing against her the whole time to shut her down and holding Orianna in midsection. And I don't see teams use their Oriannas or their Victors or their Zeers like that if you're Nukeduck and the only person playing a Zee in the whole world. So that was... like, there is some really smart stuff in Ultraliga that makes me think they're definitely in a much better position this split than they were potentially in previous splits. What do you think about Kick, especially, Sinmivak?
I think Kick could be a really good team in like upcoming weeks. For now, I'm not sure. They didn't start very well. They went 0-2, I think, in first week. But now they are getting better and better every game. they started playing really aggressive, and they are like punishing enemies for their mistakes. So I would say it's like the most. It's actually the biggest contender for the title of Ultraliga, I would say. And I guess we will match them in finals. But yeah, I'm really happy with how they improve, because the harder Ultraliga gets, it's
Yeah.
better for us, because we will have more motivation to like grow up as a team, and like we'll have like an approach that we have to improve more and try hard more.
Where do you see your advantages over them?
I mean, for now, it's mostly about that we didn't change the roster, so our team plays better. We have better team fights, and we know how to use our bot lane better, I would say. Because if we get advantage on bot lane, or like even mid lane or top lane, we can use that easily. And for now, I would say that Kick and not they don't know how to use their advantage. I mean, not always, but usually they don't. And I would say that they are learning that. They are playing better and better. They know how to snowball, but it's not that high level yet, I would say.
Okay. Does anyone else want to jump in on that?
Yeah, well, I was going to mention, because Kick have got. It's interesting to me because Kick have got really experienced players. So they've got people like Pookie Star, they've got people like Mattis Law who've had very high level experience. They've played on teams. Sakurai, who's had LAC experience, for instance. What is it you think that's stopping them? Like, why can't they capitalize on their advantages right now? Because they have players that should know how to do it.
I think, to be honest, they just need more time. I think that they will get only better, and I wouldn't say that they are bad and they don't know how to play. I just think they just need more time to like grow up as a team, and they will become like very strong.
It's very fair. I think also I wanted to sort of capitalize on. We just talked a little bit about you and Kick being likely the best teams right now. The standings look relatively top heavy. Like you're 6-0, and then there's a load of teams below you that are just kind of like in the middle of the pack. Do you think that you are? Do you think this is representative of your position in the Ultraliga? Do you think you're just a little cut above pretty much everybody else there?
Yeah, I mean, I think we are slightly better than the rest, but I wouldn't say that we are like way better than everyone. I would say that people can get on our level. I mean, teams can get on our level, especially during the playoffs. But for now, I think, yeah, we are better, but not that much. Especially recently, we are not happy with how we play. We have a lot of discussions during the scrims on how we want to improve and how we want to play. So yeah, for now we are trying to like improve as much as possible, and we are probably slightly better than the rest, but it's not as much as we would like to be like ahead than them.
I mean, a lot of what goes on in Ultraliga, to me, seems to be a lot of contests and a lot of team fighting, and most games end up being decided by that, no matter what your macro was on early phases, right? And in that regard, I think Rogue end up with really strong carries by that point, because I don't really think any bot lane can contest Lucker. I think Pookie Star has his strengths in fights, and I think Raxo has his strengths around the map. But I think you've paired Lucker with an incredibly crazy gamer in your support, who's really not afraid to go in at a moment's notice, and Lucker is more than good enough to play around that every single time that he does. You'll end up with phenomenal leads when you go into these fights, at least on those carries, and you yourself, Sinmivak, always find a window to be useful in like every fight. So I think so long as you guys have this, it is basically an individual player advantage, especially in the carry department, then I think you guys are, if Ultraliga keeps playing the way it is, just gonna continue your streak. I hope that some of the teams below you can maybe teach you guys to be a bit smarter around the map, but I think ultimately you guys have like the mechanical advantage over them.
Yeah, like to be honest, I would agree that we are mechanically better than the rest, and I would also say that Laker is by far the best player in Ultraliga, so he can carry every game if we give him enough resources.
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
I mean, I'm just happy to have a player like that in my team.
Sure, true. Alright, outside of Kick and Rogue then, which team is impressing you, or do you think could maybe contest?
I think PDW should be like top 3. because they have like incredibly good mid laner that I used to play with, Chayek, and I think he might be an LEC player in the future. And like the rest of the player is also good. They are improving every season, so I think it can only get better. And besides them, maybe SK could be a good team. Like they started for 0, but
Yeah.
not sure how the team, like how sure. Not I'm not sure how good are they because they have David Sonic on mid, so he's mostly playing for scaling. And since games in Ultraliga are long, he's able to use that in advantage of the team. He's just scaling and carrying the games. But if the games are like shorter, I'm not sure how the team would work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the two mids that you just named could be like more opposite, to be honest, because
Yeah.
Sayek legit plays really hard for the map. Like it's like he's trying to do the best Doinby cosplay that you possibly can, and then meanwhile you have David Sonic like the complete opposite end of the scale, doing as not as little as possible, but definitely playing for later stages of the game and hoping to God that the rest of the map hasn't ran it down by that point. Right, so I do like that comparison. Someone that hasn't been mentioned here is Color, because he actually did improve a lot, and you played against him recently, right? What do you think of him?
I think he has a lot of potential because I think last year he played a bit in Agorok and Vitality B because they needed a top laner. I think he has like a lot of potential, but I'm not sure if he like didn't work hard enough for the last couple of months because I think he should be way better than he is now.
Okay.
And maybe he should be like one of the best top laners outside of LEC right now. I mean, he could be maybe if he worked harder. But yeah, I think he's really good. He's like one of the best. I mean, maybe second the best top laner in Ultraliga, maybe third. And I'm not sure about that. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I think like as I said, he's really good, and he should get only better if he wants to.
You said work harder. That's like a very specific thing. What is he like not playing enough solo queue games, or is he like trolling scrims, or where does that come from?
I mean, I only know that he used to play support on solo queue only for like a couple of weeks, maybe months. I'm not sure about that actually. But lately he started playing a lot of solo queue. From what I've seen in from our analysts, that I think he played like 180 games in 2 weeks, so that's quite a lot to be honest. And extra scrims, so it's even more. But yeah, in the past, I think he used to play more support than top lane on solo queue. I'm not sure why. Maybe he had some hidden account, but he was playing mostly support on solo queue. So that's my approach. That I think if he played more on top lane, he would be way better. But I don't really know how he works. I don't know his work ethic, so
Sure.
I don't really want to tell.
All right. Orcs, what do you think of color or PDW or any of the topics we just discussed?
I think PDW is pretty sleeper. I feel like they had a bit of a rougher start to split, but they're on a decent win streak, and honestly, I feel like they're kind of above their scoreline. I feel like when I was looking to the VODs, I had good things to say about everyone on this team, which wasn't sort of the case with every team. I feel like Cupboard in the support role was pretty good at having a good sense of time of when he can move on the map. And it's like he wouldn't necessarily always find a window, but it felt like when the opportunity was there, he would make the move and wouldn't lose anything for it. And then if there was a play, he's like there and available, which I think shows good sense of sort of using that time efficiently. And I think Odie was ensuring that the lane wasn't in a vulnerable position. And as you said, Shayak, obviously really strong performer, doing a lot for the map. And I think that mid jungle support synergy was really showing up. I think this team's really sleeper. As for SK Gaming, I don't really kind of, because I feel like next patch is going to favor them a fair bit, because Eversonic's playing a lot of mages, which is kind of typical, a bit more typical for the Ultraliga, and we're getting a lot of mage item buffs. But it's been like, I feel like their team fighting's been pretty solid when they lean into that. Then they had this game where they picked the Fuhrer in the top lane, and they had the game where he's on Trinity mid, and I just feel like they had such a good start because teams weren't setting enough of a pace to like kind of beat them before they got to that point, and then they've started leaning into like a bit of a different identity. So I'm not sure if they're trying things because they're like, oh, we're at a comfortable spot, or I really don't know what's going on there. I feel like this team is a bit of a weird one because feel like the jungler as well has been playing like a lot of Rek'Sai, which we haven't typically seen as much. But I feel like they've kind of found something that worked for them, at least for those first 4 games.
I mean, I think the way that Ultraliga games go, early game junglers end up being a lot better, right? Like, you've seen Stefan break out Xin Zhao like 2 or 3 times now. Like, Rumble's obviously really common everywhere, but this is a jungler that's really common because it can force early fights really well, and Chris has done that, and Xin Zhao as well. So I do think going into, like, stuff like Rek'Sai does make sense in this region. For Eska, not sure. But for other teams, like, I would not be surprised to see them shift more into like early game junglers. What do you think about Illumina orgs? Because you're talking about like the jungle support synergy of PDW, and I think if we're gonna talk about like at least jungle mid synergy, Illuminar is definitely up there. They seem to always try to play through mid and always try to play for dives early on.
Yeah, I actually felt like I liked seeing it when Illumina were playing through top lane. I think that, like, initially when I was watching through some of the games, I felt like that top lane was like a little bit underwhelming. But in like one of the recent ones, they heavily leaned to the top lane and found like quite a bit of an advantage. I feel like that kind of favored them, and I actually think the jungler Chris is pretty proactive at sort of allowing his lanes to grab big advantages and setting up for like heralds and securing them. Whereas, I don't know, I feel like the mid laner kind of, I mean, this was more for sort of later in the game thing, but it kind of felt like at times wasn't on the same page. I don't know if you found that as well.
What, with Illumina?
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I think outside of the mid jungle of Illumina, the rest of them are like reactive players. I think Eskik does as much as he can to try to make things happen, and then I think in team fights, Chris just kind of goes really crazy gamer mode and puts himself in a vulnerable position much more often than he should, and sometimes Eskik will be drawn into the madness to try to salvage it. But the rest of them seem to be quite reactive. Sometimes this is really good. Was this the team where the Varus Leona tried to engage on the Tristana Braum without exhaust or anything on bot lane?
Zamalek's got no Varus games. I'm
sure. No, he would have been the Trist.
Is it? No, is it? Are you sure you're not talking about Comil? Because Comil, they were playing against Comil, who played Varus Leona, right?
Yeah. So that was a situation where they reacted really well to it, and then they really pushed the advantage that they got from that unfathomably stupid bot lane decision. So I think then they can run away with the game, at least the other parts do, but the only parts of that lineup that really try to push things in early is the mid jungle, which I guess if you're going to have anyone do it, it should be them, but it's not like on Kick, where it definitely feels like Raxo is in the driver's seat along with Stefan, right?
What are your thoughts on Zamalek? Because I feel like he's had some good games, but I feel like he's kind of treading the fine line between like a carry and other times like a bit of a liability. Like I feel like when he's having his good games, like I feel like Kai'Sa and Ezreal, he's been popping off, but maybe it's more the immobile.
But I prefer someone like that at this stage of their career, though. I vastly prefer that at this stage of their career than the complete opposite, right? If like all this guy is going to be able to do from the AD carry role in early is just play reactive anyway, right? This is more about how Charm plays. But if I'm seeing an AD carry that is going for these plays that are sometimes a bit int, but sometimes work out, at least he's learning which ones are int, theoretically, over time, right? And you much rather have this guy than someone who is permanently playing passive, because that guy you're going to need to give a personality transplant to, right? Not the crazy gamer guy. The crazy gamer guy needs to, like, chill out a little, right? And that's fine. You know, you just need to get punched in the face enough so that he has a Pavlovian response to int. Right? And he will eventually have that. So I'm really actually fine with this guy.
I actually think Zamalek is one of the main levers for the team's success in sort of the later game. He clearly gets the most resources. He takes a very high percentage of damage share, you know, for an AD carry, one of the highest in the league in terms of the team's contribution. So it feels like Zamalek is kind of like the guy that they do lean on to like be that main carry in the later stages. And then it's up to Chris and Eskik to kind of like get them there. Like Chris and Eskik the guys who kind of like drive the early mid game. And then if they get to that point, it's Zamalek who steps in and says, oh, cool, I've got enough resources now. I'm going to do my thing.
But I will say in this league, despite the Tryndamere mid game that everyone saw, a lot of the damage shares are going to tend very heavily to AD carry, because these guys absolutely love the shit out of their enchanters in the mid lane. Like Karma Lulu matchups, Seraphine, like all this shit everywhere. Like this feels like a league where Lucca just came in steamrolling and everyone's like, we just have to make sure AD carry can match this guy somehow, right? Like a lot of it felt like they're just reacting to getting bodied by Lucca in scrims or something, you know? And throwing enchanters at it is their solution, right? No, like if you look at how many enchanter mids they're playing there, it's actually pretty significant compared to other leagues.
I'm going through it now. There's quite a lot of Lulu cards. I think there are a few teams that have stronger mids. Like, you know, for instance, if you look at Ago, Rogue, like they've got a pretty strong mid in terms of that. You know, like you said, he's a bit more proactive and has a bit more participation.
Yeah, I mean, even S-Kick was forced onto Lulu, right? And he's actually a really proactive mid early. Shazek, I'm pretty sure, got forced onto enchanters. Yeah. It's not necessarily that like our mid is bad, so we have to put them on enchanters. I think people are just identifying like a very strong team fighting meta driven by ADs in Ultraliga.
I've got a question for Sinmivak then. Simio, do you think that there is a very high quality of AD carries in Ultraliga? Do you think there's a lot of AD carries in the league that you think could sort of reach a high level in their career?
I think for now everyone is scared of Lacker. I think he's way better than everyone. But I think, like as you guys said, Zamulek, he started popping off recently, and he's having those games where he can just carry the game. And he's great fit to the team because he doesn't need to carry, but if he gets enough resources, he can do that. And I would say that it's the guy that can only get better.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like one of the best players in Ultraliga maybe in upcoming year. We don't know. But yeah, I think he has the most potential, I would say. And I would also say that Odi from PDW is also good. Of course, I'm not talking about Pookie style because he usually is like one of the best players in Ultraliga too, and he's always like consistent in what he does.
And he's like 60 years old, so.
Yeah, but I think Zamulek and Odi could be good in the future. I mean, they already are, but they could only get better in the future. And about the rest, I'm actually not sure. I'm not really watching many games and how they play.
Sure.
But yeah, I think Odi and Zamulek have the most potential.
What do you think about OD? Because you were pretty high on PDW, Orcs.
I think he, you know, like I was talking about Zamalek as being someone who did more of a limit tester.
Yeah.
I don't think OD's kind of been that role as much, but I think that's fine because I think he fits his team better. But I think he has a good sense of sort of like a good sense of when he can play aggressive and a good sense of when he needs to play defensive and let his teams like facilitate his team moving around the map a bit more and playing back. I think particularly with Shaik in the mid lane, especially when he's been on stuff like the Jace, I think having a player who's more consistent in the back line is good. But yeah, I feel like Zamulek is more likely to be the player who's going to pop off and 1v9 you a game. But I think OD's just been reliable.
What I like about Odie is that he seems to be able to have. He's got a lot of variety in his kit. He's not just someone that plays one style. I think he's very flexible AD carry. Like, you know, and I think that shows that there's a lot of strength, like you said, with Shaik, who has that ability to be a bit more proactive. Like he's got a similar champion pool this season to. Let me just double check. I'm not chatting out my butt. Yeah, similar champion pool to Crest, right? You know, in terms of like a bit more proactive. A bit more aggressive in the mid lane. Obviously, one Lulu game, but apart from that, he has played a bit more proactive and aggressive.
Everyone is going to have one of those before the end of the split.
Yeah, but Odie does have like a bit more of a flexible play style, I think, in bot. Just, you know, but he's still able to contribute just as much to the team as well, which is what I think's got some potential.
Yeah, I think like you compare that to like Lucca, whether it's very much like a go rogue play for him. I don't think that PDW necessarily play for Odie, but I think he slots into the team really well, and as you said, is pretty versatile.
I mean, he reminds me, this is going to be a really weird plug no one's expecting, but he actually reminds me a lot of the 100 Thieves Next AD carry Instinct, who is playing in their amateur scene over there, and he actually spends most of his time enabling his support Busio to basically carry mid lane over and over again. And it's a much smarter way of thinking, but the thing about Instinct is that we have also seen games where they play really hard to him, and he actually 1v9s on pretty dominant champions like Kalista, and I do want to see those kinds of games from Odie as well, because if an American can show that it's not one or the other, then definitely a Polish person can show it, right? So I want to see those kinds of games from him, and I don't necessarily think that just because he's playing this one more like, oh look, I know how to maintain a freeze while my support, goes around the map playstyle. I don't necessarily think that means that he won't show that he can also be that aggressive player that carries the game in his own right? And I just want to see more of that.
And if you want to check out more North American amateur discussion, check out Developing Talent North American Edition.
True. Yes. That plug was subtle, but it's all good, Excandral. There you go.
I just thought I'd throw it in there for you. Sinmivak, the one team that we haven't really talked about is Comil and friends. What do you make of this team? Obviously, they've got the likes of Deathless on their team, who's a pretty experienced AD carry. I feel like he is the team a lot of the time in terms of what he does for them. But how do you view Comil and friends? What are the strengths and weaknesses of this team?
What a name, by the way.
I know, Comil and friends.
Yeah, I don't know what's this name, but yeah, I think to be honest, they have only one win condition, and it's Deathless. I think he's the only guy that can carry the games in the team, and from what I have played with him in the past, I think he's also shot caller for the team. So I think he's the biggest value in the team. But the rest of the team, they have like 3 rookies, I would say. I mean, their top laner played 1 split, mid laner 2, and the support guy is new. And they have Konji-san on jungle. I think he used to be a coach for like 2 last years, so I don't know what to think about him. But yeah, I think this team could be a bit underrated, but I'm not sure what to think about them, because from what I've seen, only Deathless can carry them, but maybe some of the players could pop off in the rest of the season, like their laner. I think he plays things like Wukong or things like that, so if he gets some resources, maybe he will be the guy who can do a lot in the team, but I don't know yet. But to be honest, for now, I don't know what to think about them. They should be fine, but I don't know. Maybe they will get better.
Yeah, I haven't been massively impressed by the team. I gotta respect Deathless, because I feel like he's trying to be Looker essentially, and that sort of take over the game, like go for those aggressive plays. But I feel like without the team to back him up, it can backfire a lot. And I feel like I agree that Wojux I think has some potential, but when the team's not doing super hot, it's been a little tricky for him to shine. And I think with Deathless being the shot call and being who they play towards a bit more, like it's quite clear that he's one getting the attention. But I don't know. It's just I see a lot of games where, like, for example, a top laner will just be down in farm substantially for like 0 reason, and like in different matchups, and it just kind of feels like this team isn't on par with the other lineups, and I feel like it is really just right now Deathless against the world. But again, like, I respect him for going for these plays, but a lot of them just end up like backfiring because he's not in a position where you can really can, but he's trying to make it work.
I mean, fuck, I don't want to flame him. He is definitely trying very hard to carry. Is the nice way to put it.
Do you think he needs to, though? Do you think he needs to? Do you think he needs to put more trust in people like
someone
Wojak?
needs to, or that team's not winning any more games. So.
Yeah, I think he's carry.
I mean, but that's like, do we flame Deathless for making those plays, or like do we say, well, someone is right, someone has to, at the end of the day?
The thing is, it's like one of those situations where I'd rather see that than see them just kind of like chill and wait for 40 minutes and then get like rolled over regardless. Or I mean, less than 40 minutes. Like, I'd rather see them like try these proactive plays, because they actually have some games that have gone okay where they kind of just start deathballing in a team fight, and they like, if Deathless on Tristana, they start getting resets. So I'd rather see that than them just kind of sit there and wait for the game to be over, even though it does backfire a fair bit and looks a bit int. And hopefully, like, the goal with that is hopefully over the course of the season they can kind of refine that a bit more and realize the plays in. But I'm not convinced that this team is really going to be a top contender.
I mean, there's like an opportunity cost argument for that playstyle as well, though, right? Like, there's trying really, really hard to win, and then there's throwing away potential good opportunities that would arise in the next 2-3 minutes, right? And they are like knowable things. Like, why would you do this when you're going to finish Kraken Slayer in another wave, right? And you will probably be able to win the fight then. Maybe not definitely, but at least it turns into like a 40-60 instead of like the 20-80 that it is now, right? Why flip it here when you know that they have to be in position for a Drake contest soon, right? Like this sort of a thing. So that's kind of like the general counter argument I'd give to that. I think being crazy gamers when behind is good and all, but I think you have to pick your crazy. You have to be like crazy gamers, but on like chill pills. I don't really know how the fuck I'd put this, but just be a little bit more calculated in your insanity. There's still math still has chaos theory in it, you know, so it is possible. That's just what I think.
For sure. I think like there was an earlier game in the split that kind of actually bothered me, where like the enemy bot lane and jungle invaded the red buff when they were on blue side, and then you see the bot lane come back, like walking from your side of the map into lane, and you see Deathless and Minimasiak like playing really aggressive. So it's like, oh well, I wonder where the jungler is. Oh, they were in our red side jungle where the bot lane just came from, and he just walks behind them and gets a kill, and I'm like, okay, that's
I mean, they could always just take a tip from Esker and just watch Esker games, because those guys need like 50 minutes to win anything anyway, you know. So might as well if you're looking for an in-league team to start emulating. But yeah, let's talk about Devils 1, because they seem a lot lower in the standings than I think they should be. They seem a lot smarter than I would assume. It's difficult to get a read on a lot of their players though. Like I've sometimes liked their AD, whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce because I don't even know how you can put like a J and an S together. But
they switched their AD though, didn't they? I actually wanted to ask Sinmivak about this just quickly. Do you know the reason behind the AD carry switch? Because they had Bios on initially, and now they have Edge.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they had Bjornsson, now they have Eisner, and
Yep.
actually I'm not sure why did they change him, but yeah, as you said, I'm not really sure about the team, and they seem smart, but I don't know why are they not winning more games, to be honest.
What do you think about Sheru? Because some games this guy looks really good, and then some games this guy looks like he should have been replaced, you know? So what do you think about him?
I mean, I feel the same as you said. He's having those games where he's playing really well, to be honest, and I think if he played like this consistently, he would be really good. But he has those games where he's like really behind for no reason. But if he improves in that consistency, I would say he could be really good in maybe even in the split. But I would say in the next one. But yeah, I think he's decent, to be honest. I think he's decent and he's getting only better and better. But I don't know how much time he needs to get the consistency he needs.
So who has actually impressed you in this league as a top laner then? Because when it came to Color, you thought that he should be a lot better than he is right now. With Sheru, you think he's like inconsistently good or inconsistently bad, depending on who you are. We haven't mentioned Sakura much. I personally think he's underperforming a lot this split. But is there anyone here who you would actually single out and think this guy is actually really good?
I haven't played against Leku yet. He's playing in Illuminar, so I'm not sure about him. I think he might be good, but I don't know how he performs in official games. But yeah, Sheru, I think he's good, yeah. I think if he has those games where he's performing well, I think he might be really good. And yeah, Sakura, I'm not sure, to be honest. As you said, he's underperforming a bit. So I don't know what to say about him for now. Maybe I think he should play better during playoffs. Because the team is very experienced, so I think they will find their identity as a team. So I think he might get better. And yeah, I think Color is also good. So I would say like Sharon and Color are probably like the guys that impress me the most.
Okay, so do you scrim outside of Ultraliga?
Yeah.
Have any top laners outside of Ultraliga impressed you? Because I just want to clarify where this is coming from. For me, top lane is the role that is like the worst in Europe right now. I can name way more supports that I think have the potential to go up than I can with top laners, right? So I'd be really interested if there was like a top laner outside of Ultraliga that you think is challenging you or that you think should be moving up.
Mm, I mean, last split, I would say Adam and SLT, but now they are in ELP, so maybe Aggressivo, but every time he gets to EU Masters, he's not really going that far in the playoffs. So I can't really tell how would he perform against the best players. I haven't played against Cabochard on scrims, so I can't tell. But I think Melonic from Big could be really good, and I haven't played against him recently. I mean, last
Really?
split in
Okay.
Ultraliga, and he played really well in official games. But now I don't know how he plays in the team. Maybe we didn't play scrims against them, so I can't tell. But I think he could be good. And besides the guys I just said about, I'm not sure to be honest. I
What
guess
do you think
Shigenda.
of? What do you think of Arome?
Roma, I forgot about Roma. I think he's really good from what I've played against him last split. He's really good like wave management. He does a lot to the team and he's really consistent. But uh, not sure how much he gives to the team because I'm not watching NLC recently. But from what I've played against him, he's really good to be honest. Not sure if LEC level, but I think he's really good, yeah.
Okay, saying Aroma, Mr. I have an NLC background, is cheating, by the way, and so is saying Cabochard, alright? Do you watch French League?
And not every game, yeah, but I do watch.
What do you think about Irrelevant?
I think he's only getting better and better. I don't know how good he is now,
Yeah.
but I think last year he wasn't really playing in a good team. Now he's like 1k LP, I think, for a while, and his champion pool is getting wider and wider. So I think he's decent for now, yeah. But I don't know. I think he's improving really fast, to be honest, and he might be good in the future. I mean, he already is good, but I don't know how good he can be.
Okay, so in the past, you were on Mad Lions, right? The Mad Lions development roster. In Spanish League, two questions. This is a two-parter. Number one, this is a team where a lot of people have pointed at them as if any team's going to have like a good development side of things, it would be them. So what was your experiences with them when it came to that? We'll get onto your experiences with Rogue right now soon, which apparently involves your mid laner being really sick at teaching. And two, while you were there, what did you think about like the level of top lane that you were playing against?
I really enjoyed my time in Mad Lions, to be honest. Their like approach to everything was really like enjoyable for me. The players I played with were really funny, to be honest. I had a lot of great time with them. The coaches, actually, I learned a lot from them in terms of like confidence in game. But I played only Barian Cup there, so not sure what is the level. I mean, the level of the Iberian Cup was pretty good back then because there was like Elioya playing and players like that. And about top lane, I think Oscarinin could be good in the future. I mean, he is like mechanically really good. Not sure how much resources he gets from the team because I'm not watching every game in LVP. But I would say that Oscarinin is probably the best mechanically top laner in LVP.
Okay.
And the rest, I'm actually not sure. Back then, Binso was good, but now he's playing in Alpha, I think. And I guess now Dreddy is also good.
Thank God. Okay, thank God you mentioned
Yeah,
him. Jesus.
yeah, he's good. I mean, I forgot that he's playing there now, but yeah.
I feel like if you merged Oscar in, I know this is not the Spanish episode, but I'm still going to say this anyway. I feel like if you merged Dreedy and Oscar in, you'd actually have like a really sick top laner. Because Oscar Winnin seems to be a lot better at like consistently applying pressure in lane. And Dreedy seems to really understand when he has a good all-in potential, right?
Yeah, I
or
agree.
when the enemy does. Whereas Oscar Winnin, I'll see him like throw away an insane lead because he doesn't realize that maybe from this position, Malphite really loves to be playing the game right now, you know? And he just gets ulted in one shot, right? Or against something like Gnar. But Dreedy will never make that kind of a stupid decision, right? So I feel like if you merge those two, you get like an all-encompassing complete top laner. So I'm really glad you mentioned those two guys as well, because those were the two top laners I really liked when I was watching them. So this is the last Spanish question, but he did just play Garen mid and just murder absolutely everyone. What was your experience with Niter, who is currently looking like a really solid up-and-coming mid?
I mean, he's a crazy guy, to be honest. He plays everything.
Brilliant.
Like, when I played Mad Lions with him, I mean, we played like Tryndamere maybe 2 or 3 times on mid lane, and then we played it, I'm not sure, I think Movistar in Iberian Cup. Actually, I'm not sure. I think it was against Movistar in playoffs, and we won. Now he's playing Garen and things like that, so I think he gets a lot of trust from the teammates and the coaching staff because he's playing things like those. But yeah, he knows how to do stuff on the map, and he's very confident in what he does. And yeah, he's crazy for sure.
Okay. I'm not going to dwell too much on Niter. Let's move on to Rogue itself then. So you've been an AGO Rogue for a bit now. It's a team where even though the second team kind of has like the AGO title and it's kind of outsourced, we've been given the impression that there's a lot more interaction between that team and the main team than on others. Do you have much interaction with Odo? Do you have much interaction with the main team staff? How's your own stuff? Like how is your experience on AGO Rogue from like your own development standpoint?
Last split, I used to play some 1v1s with Odomne, especially before their playoffs matches. So I think we played like 25 times Gangplank against Renekton matchup, first 3 minutes, like 25 games in a row. So yeah, he wanted to practice the matchup, so I said like, yeah. So, and yeah, we played quite a bit 1v1s. I mean, not that much, but like 3 sessions, I would say, 3 or 4. And recently, we didn't play, I think. There was one opportunity that he wanted to try some stuff with me, but I wasn't like able to play that day.
Okay.
I didn't also have much practice on the champions he wanted to play. But yeah, if I have any questions, I can just ask him, and I do that. So he's happy to, I mean, he helps me if I ask him. So that is good for me. And I'm really happy that the main team actually wants to help us if we need something. About the coaching stuff, I think Blumigan was on our scrims like 2 or 3 times last split. So he also helped us, maybe not a lot because it wasn't that often, but yeah, he helped us. And yeah, I mean, if we need something, we can just ask them. From what I know, Clay is also talking with their coaching staff about the drafts, and Chris is also talking to Bloomy about the stuff because they are friends and they help each other. So we are getting a lot of help from them.
Okay, so would you say that the atmosphere in the team is like very player centric then, or player run, or how would you say it is?
I mean,
because you mentioned Crest, for example.
Yeah. To be honest, the team, everyone is happy to help each other, but
Okay.
there is no like one guy that is able to like carry the team in the way that he views the game.
Sure.
So we often ask some people and ask the main team how it should look like, because we don't have like a strong voice. I would say Chris is the strongest voice, but it's not like he's shot calling the whole game, and his approach is like, we have to play like this. We don't have a guy like that, so we are trying to like mix stuff from every player and find the solution that is the best. we are still trying to find our identity for that split, and we are
Okay.
trying a lot of stuff. But for now, yeah, everything is mixed, and we are trying a lot of stuff. And we are also talking to a lot of people that how we should play and how the meta looks like.
So obviously outside of getting like help from players like Oda One Day, etc., is this like typical of the teams that you've been in, or how is it normally for you? Like how does this contrast with the other teams you've been on?
Mm, I mean, last year, I mean, I used to play in Devils One Academy, so I had player like Aggressivo that I could also ask for help if I needed something.
Yeah.
Last year, I used to ask some people. To be honest, if I wasn't sure about something, I just used to ask some top laners and asked for help or how the matchup should look like. But about the team, I'm usually just trying to get as much information as I can from other people and then try to use it for myself. And I'm asking a lot of people, to be honest, about different stuff. But for now, I'm really happy with how it is now
Yeah.
because I have a really experienced player like Odamne that if I need something, I can just ask him, you know.
So how do you see like a route up for yourself into LEC? Assuming that you are aiming that high, because obviously the odds of someone like Odo getting dropped by Rogue is pretty astronomical. I guess unless they can sell him for a couple of million to a random North American team where he can live in regret for the rest of his life. So where do you see like the windows for you to move up to the next stage?
Uh, I don't know, to be honest. Like, I'm trying to work as hard as I can. So I hope that if I get an opportunity to like get to LEC, I will be able to use that and I will be able to just only get better if I get there. But not sure for now when it will be
Okay.
and how can I be. But yeah, I'm trying to mix different playstyles recently, and I'm trying to have a different approach to the game. So
Okay.
maybe I will become a better player in the future.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for now I just don't know. But I'm working hard, I would say, and I'm trying my best.
Okay, so outside of Ultraliga then, which teams are you looking at to like learn from?
I mean, of course, LFL teams like K-Corp, Vitality B, and Misfits, I guess. Those teams are, I would say, one of the best outside of the LEC. And if you look at their games, especially K-Corp, I mean, they know what to do at every point of the game. They know when to move and where to move and who do they need to the play. So it's very nice to like watch them and learn from them. And besides them, um, to be honest, I'm not sure. I watched a bit Big and Mouse games, and they are trying a lot of stuff, and they seem to be like sometimes very aggressive, sometimes reactive. So it's also a mix of play styles that could be good. But yeah, I would say that LFL teams are like the most. I can learn the most from them in terms of how they play.
Okay, this is the second time you've mentioned Big. Are you looking forward to like meeting them at EU Masters? Do you think they compete with you at all?
I mean, I'm just hoping for a revenge with Malaga because he stomped me last split in playoffs. So yeah, maybe it's a bit personal, but yeah, I'm just hoping for revenge. But I think they are good, to be honest. They showed pretty good performance last split. They changed their top laner and jungler, so I'm not sure how it goes during the rest of the split. But yeah, I think they are strong. I think Mouse should also be strong. But of course, like LFL teams should be like uh, maybe even the best outside of the LEC, especially the top three.
Okay, assuming the LFL teams are like at least now better. If we were to do EUM right now, which region do you view as like the one that would be the roadblock to the Ultraliga outside of the LFL? Just assume that they're waiting for you in the finals.
Mm, I'm not sure. I mean, I think NLC for now has only one good team, which is Excel Academy. Maybe Fnatic, but I'm not sure what to think about them. I think LVP has UCAM, and I'm not sure about the rest. And like as I said, Prime League has Mouse and Big. So probably besides LFL, Prime League would be the best, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. And do you think you can beat them
Uh,
as you're
I
currently
mean,
playing?
lately we are having some difficulties in our team, and we are not playing well. So I think for now, no, but maybe in 1 week it's gonna be easier.
All right.
I've
Fair.
I've got one question though, because we haven't actually covered gentlemen's gaming in great detail. I don't think. It might be the only team we missed out from the Ultraliga when we were talking about them.
Right, on okay, just really before we delve into the gentleman's gaming topic, I just want to say, like, Wysek, don't worry, that tasteless guy on Twitter is a fucking pussy, alright? You can, I swear you can take that guy, alright? I swear, alright? Okay, now continue to talk about the rest of the gentleman's gaming.
I just wanted to ask quickly for the
Yeah.
gentleman's gaming thing, because obviously you've said that you as a team aren't playing too well at the moment. Obviously you're undefeated in the league. Do you feel, and a lot of people said like the Ultraliga only has like a minimal amount of good teams compared to like the full league, which is kind of something we have in the NLC as well. Do you feel like you suffer a fair bit from that, in the sense that like you're playing in a league with that much competition, and would like do you feel like the scrims are enough practice to sort of put you on the same level?
I mean, usually in Poland, it's like this that there are like two good teams, and the rest is like maybe top three is close to top two teams, but the rest is like not too good, I would say. There is not much competition, and it's been like this for years. So it's mostly top one and top two teams competing. Um, top three is, like as I said, usually close, but it's still not the same level. So we are trying to like learn as much possible from scrims, because the level of the Ultraliga matches is not the highest now, I would say, and we don't have a lot to learn from, because we I mean the game against Kick was hard and PW, but mainly because we had a bad draft. So the level of Ultraliga is like not the highest. Uh, like as you said, maybe it's similar to NLC. So usually, like two good teams and the rest is not the highest level.
Do you feel like you fall into traps because of that? Like you go for plays and they work in like your competitive games, and then when you like play against teams at EU Masters or even in scrims, those same plays just like backfire.
I mean, it happened last split that we had some bad habits because of that. We are trying, I mean, we were trying a lot of stuff that it turned out to be bad later on. And for me, especially, it was hard to keep the motivation, because I used to be always an underdog in the league. So I had to like catch the others to become a better player. And when I was playing like last split, I mean, we are supposed to win, and there was not much competition. So it was hard for me to have enough motivation and confidence to grind. So it's mostly about giving our best on scrims, which we are trying now and learning on scrims. But yeah, like official games should give the most, but for now it's like hard to learn that much. Of course, we learn. I'm not saying we don't. We are not perfect. We are making mistakes. But yeah, I would love if Ultraliga had more money, because teams are very poor and players usually go abroad. So the level of the Ultraliga is not the highest.
Fair. Okay, Alexander, now you can go to gentleman's gaming.
Yeah, it just because I feel like we've done every other team a bit of justice, and we kind of glossed over gentlemen's gaming a little bit. This is a roster that also hasn't been doing particularly well, like kind of similar to Common and Friends here. Although I would say they're not quite as reliant on a single player. How do you view them? Are there any players that you think are standout? Any players you think that could potentially step up to be good on this roster?
I think their top laner, Pobista, tries a lot of stuff on the map, so he's definitely like the proactive guy in the team, and maybe he's the guy that can carry the team. And like I think their jungler Banek is also good, like mechanically. He used to be like Nidalee and Lee Sin player, so he can definitely try to carry the games. Their mid laner is only assassin player, so I guess if he gets a good matchup, he can carry the game. But not sure what to think like overall about the team, I think they don't have like their own identity yet. They are trying a lot of stuff that sometimes is not good, sometimes it's good. But mm, I'm not sure, to be honest, how good can they be because they don't have experienced players. So not sure who can carry the team like consistently.
What do you think, veteran, on this team? Obviously, we haven't had much input from you.
I mean, I feel like a lot of this team is driven by whether, do I call him Benek or Ben 3K?
Benek,
Yeah. By whether Benek actually judges his skirmishes properly or not. Because I think this guy does try to do a decent amount of stuff on the map early, but it's mostly to do with neutral objectives, and that generally leads to a team fight very fast. And if his judgment is good, then the team can do well. The other like inconsistent part of it is Buku. I've seen this guy get smashed, and I've also seen this guy do quite well when he's not getting smashed. But I feel like I'm going to say that a lot when it comes to Ultraliga because of how team fight oriented it is, right? Obviously, if you go into a team fight with a lead on Yone versus being smashed for ages and for 40 CS behind on Yone, you're going to do really well versus on the other, right? But I think when I do think of this team, most of it is on Ben 3K. I think Crow, though, does actually play team fights notably well, no matter what the circumstances are. I think this guy really tries to do everything he can in every fight without becoming a liability in them. Kind of like the opposite of who are we talking about? Is it Defiles or Deathless?
Deathless.
Yeah, the very inappropriately named Deathless, who will just push limit until dead, you know? I think Crow understands when the limit is in a lot of situations. So I would, if this team is on point, I would actually really like to see how Crow does in that situation, right? Because I actually think this guy has a decent amount of potential. I know he's like the only Finnish guy in the whole place, but I do genuinely think he's doing well. Or at least shows potential to do really well, right? That's what I think of that team. But Benek's the first person I think of. If he's good, the team will win. If he's less than that, then it gets really BG really fast. But yeah.
What was the reason behind the jungle change? Do you know? Actually, I'm up to speed on this.
Tasteless has his agents everywhere, okay? But we can fight back together, alright?
I mean, from what I know, Benek was just, I think, banned for 2 games. I don't know if solo queue experience or something, but I think he was banned, but I'm actually not sure. So that's the reason they had Visek in jungle.
That's the official reason, alright? But when your Twitter game is as strong as certain people of Eastern European descent, then, you know, there's no other choice, alright? There's no other choice. Actually, I should... No, wait, I won't say this here. Alright, is there anything else about Ultraliga that you particularly want to talk about? That's an open question to everyone here.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? You broke up for me a second.
That's quite rare. Is there anything else about Ultraliga that any of you guys want to talk about?
No, like my questions from the earlier European Masters performance have kind of been answered, and I think from Sinmivak's perspective, what was the main reason just a massive difference in style that Ultraliga didn't do particularly well this season, or is it just like a loss of talent? Or is it a combination of everything in your eyes that led to a sort of a downgrade in what they were able to put out at European Masters?
I think like the problem with Ultraliga is that Polish orgs don't have money, so we cannot keep the good players. And usually when it comes to like international events like EU Masters, we have maybe 1 or 2 good teams that could perform well, but recently it only got worse because like whole kick went abroad, like Zlatan, IBO, also players like Woolite are not playing here now. So we don't have the players that were like fundamental for the league for the last couple of years. And now the playstyle of the whole league changed a bit because we don't have, I mean, we have some experienced players, but not as much as we had in the past. So we have a lot of rookies that could be good in the future. And I think if they get enough space and enough time, we might have a lot of good players. Like, I don't know, maybe Zamula could be good in the future, and maybe Benek, who knows. But for now, the problem with the league is that we are a bit too passive because there is a lot of rookies, so the teams are usually not trying a lot of stuff.
How do you think you solve that problem then?
To be honest, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I think overall teams should try to like not be scared and find their own identity to not be scared to play and try a lot of stuff on the map, because like we talked before, a lot of teams are reactive, not always but usually. There are like 2 maybe 3 teams that are trying to do stuff, and the rest is like usually scaling. So people, I think they are just scared to die in video game, I would say.
Fair enough. Obviously, that isn't a problem that could really be solved from the top lane. You guys, when you're trying to find team identity, you're kind of doing it more like, I guess every single player contributes to the discussion in yours, right? Do you think that this is maybe something where teams doing it that way might make it harder to develop like specific identities, or do you think that would maybe help? Like, do you think maybe someone needs to come in and just say, we play like this now, right? Like, you could maybe argue David Sonic's presence forces a particular style in his team, right? Or Shazek's insistence on doing everything around the map 24/7 if he can forces a particular identity on his team, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think some teams need a player that like will give the approach that he views the game, and the rest will just follow him. I think that it could be good for some teams, but the rest should like try different stuff and try to find their identity. Like I think Gentleman's maybe Devil's one, and not sure. I mean, SK, they have their playstyle. They're just scaling. So I think for some teams it's good, like to have the person that can like shot call the game and how he views the game. So the rest will like everyone will know what to do, but not sure if it's good for every team, to be honest.
All right. So we've talked a lot about, because when we're looking at like identity forming, right? A very big thing that normally dictates how your early game is gonna play out is jungle support, right? And we've talked a lot about your support, at least in terms of how he enables Lucker. We haven't talked about your support about how he plays around the map, or how he plays with Lurlocs, or even their part in the team. Like, how do you view what they do for your team right now, then?
Right now, I mean, we are trying to make more and more stuff in enemy jungle, so we are trying to like group up as much as possible with support jungle and try to do stuff in like aggressive way, I would say. But like in the past, we just tried to create this vision. We tried to make enough space for Lacker to put him in a situation where he can get some advantage and maybe later on carry the game. But usually, overall, I think Agorok as a team, we are just trying to get enough vision. We are not flipping things. We are not playing over aggressive. We are just trying to put ourselves in a situation where we don't need to take a big risk to win the games. And if we get an advantage, we know how to snowball that. And like when Lacker gets some like a free kill or some plays, the game is usually free.
So, because I'm really going to try to like put you on the jungle support thing. When you look at a team like Kick, and their jungle support is actually really, really active in early phases of the game, do you view what they do as much more of a flip then than what you do, rather than like some sort of calculated set of decisions they're making?
I would say maybe it's a bit more flip, but only because they are a new team. I mean, some of the players in the team are new, so not everything is like as calculated as it could be, I would say. But yeah, they are trying a lot of stuff, and I would say we are trying to do that too. Not sure who does it better and who is like more, what is more planned, I would say, and who is more consistent in that. Because from what I've seen, Raxo is trying a lot of stuff on the map.
Yeah.
When I played against him last split, he like went on top lane 3 times, I think, in one game. So he's definitely trying a lot of stuff, and I think Stefan is a great addition to the team, because from what I've seen, he's also trying to do the stuff with Raxo. So yeah, I think as I said, like in the beginning, if they get more time to improve, they could be really good because they're like support jungle is trying a lot of stuff.
All right, so last thing then that I think we should do, because what we did on the first episode, right, and we were thinking of doing this on the second one, but it would be a little bit awkward to have done it, right? What we did on the first one was that we all ended up doing like our kind of super teams, right? Now, the issue with that is that you're just going to put all of your teammates on it, right? So what we're going to do instead, all right, is that Orcs and Excounter are going to do their super teams, and then you're going to vote on who you think did the better super team, right?
Okay.
And then I will determine if your opinion is correct, Sinmivak, but yeah.
So are we limited to 2 per single team?
I actually hate doing that, by the way, but yes, we are limited to 2 per team.
Okay.
Actually, if we do that, then I guess Sinmivak's fine to do it, right? Fuck it. Actually, if we do that, then Sinmivak, you have to join in on this, all right? And then when your team was like, what the fuck, why? You have to be like, well, I had to put Lucker, you know? And I had to put whoever other random person you put, you know? And it's like, then they can't be mad at you, you know? It's all good. You're limited to 2 per team. Right, we've mastered it perfectly. Good job, Ex-Scoundrel. That's why you're here. Perfect.
Well, there you go.
All right, who goes first, Ex-Scoundrel, then?
Shall I go first? I'll go first.
Oh, yeah. Go.
Okay, so I'm going to take from my bot lane Lucker and Raxo. So I'm going to take Lucker and Raxo from my bot lane.
Okay.
I'm going to take Stefan from my jungle. And not because he's here, but I'm taking Sinmivak for top lane. Definitely because he's here. Which now means I need a mid lane. And I think for my mid, I would take Shayak. So Shayak, Lucker, Raxo, Stefan, and Sinmivak. That's my super team. That's my Ultraliga super team.
Okay. Orcs?
So support, I'm gonna go Pirka, AD carry Lucker, mid lane Shayak, jungle I'm gonna go Chris, and then top lane. I think I would probably go Color.
Okay. Who did you put for support?
Pirka.
Perker, okay. Alright, your team's really interesting, actually. Alright, Sinmivak, hit me. What are you gonna do?
I mean, I would go for Lucker. I think he's by far the best player in Ultraliga.
I'm just incredibly shocked that you would say that. There you go.
I mean, I think it would be a bit weird if I didn't put myself. I mean, I think I would put myself on top lane, on mid lane Shayak, support Raxo, AD carry Lucker, and jungle. I'm thinking about Brunes and Stefan, but I think Brunes would be better for the team.
Okay. So, alright, so you and Ex-Scoundrel have really similar ones. I'm basically gonna take Ex-Scoundrel's one. Actually, wait, I know what I'm gonna do, alright? I'm gonna have Stefan Raxo, right? I'm gonna do a really shocking move and put Lucker in AD carry.
Bold.
I actually do genuinely think, by the way, that Lucker is like the best player in Ultraliga right now, at least mechanically. Like, this guy really plays fights incredibly well right now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna put, and he's gonna block me when I do this. I'm actually gonna put Cress in mid lane, which means I can't have Sinmivak top. Alright? And off of that, I'm gonna put Shiryu top. That would be my team. Alright? And because it's my show, I get to say my team beats all of yours, so you all lose again. It's really, I always win these Sinmivak. It's actually pretty nuts. But Sinmivak, out of like our 3 then, because obviously you think yours wins. Which one do you think's going better? I assume mine loses because I didn't put you, but
I
We
think
can write them down.
I think the team with Lucker and Perk on bot lane was good. I'm not sure who picked them.
that was Orcs. That was Orcs.
Yeah.
Raxo haters everywhere.
I know what these guys flaming.
This guy
Raxo.
should be an LEC already, I'm telling you. Right? Raxo is seriously fucking good. I also just don't think you can break up Steph and Raxo. I think they just play so well together that if you give them carries, then I think they'll play really well. And I don't think you need Shayak if you have Stefan and Raxo. I think there are plenty of teams that need Shayak and benefit a lot from him. I don't necessarily think I need him, but I definitely need someone who's going to play every team fight really well, and Cress and Lucker already know how each other plays in those fights, and top lane's just the most irrelevant role in the history of mankind. People play Yuumi in this role now, alright? That weird random guy on Twitter starting to try to popularize it, you know? So I at that point I can just put Shoyu, and Shoyu, if you do bad, it doesn't really matter. I have Lucker, you know? And if you do really well, then we just auto win the game, don't we? It's perfect. So I do think outside of Sinmivak, Shoyu's like the best. But it's like Sinmivak, then Shoyu, then the rest aren't really that notable right now. Like Color Suck without threatening.
For mine, like top lane, I kind of picked Color because I feel like with the roster I had, I wanted someone on weak side. And he seems like a pretty good weak side refugee. He's had games where he's kind of like been targeted and still was like relevant in team fights. Chris, I think he's really quite proactive at like securing neutrals and allowing his like playing first lanes to grab big advantages. And I think as well his mid jungle synergy pretty solid. So like him paired with Shayak, I think would be a good duo, providing pressure. And then if they can lean that bot lane, they have the gamers in the bot lane, Lucker and Perka, who hopefully will have, you know, it's 10 minutes in, they've already killed the enemy bot lane 3 times. Lucker's dead, game's over.
I just, before we get to X-Scoundrels, a fucking game where, like, the Twitch decided that this 12-stack Ezreal, while you don't even have lethal tempo anymore, is, like, worth going in on. It's mind-blowing to me, actually. Holy lord. Alright, X-Scoundrel, explain yours. You're not allowed to say, I thought Veteran would like it.
I thought Veteran would like it. No, from what I've seen from Raxo, I've really liked him as a support player. I think he's really intelligent. Does a lot of, tries to sort of link up with the jungle, as you said. The Raxo Stefan combo is really good. I think he like plays a lot for the map. And also I've heard Veteran rave about him for years now, so I have to kind of take that on board when I'm making my decision. I went for Stefan just because I like the champion pool that he plays. He plays a lot more early aggressive champion pool, likes to be a bit more gank orientated. Xin Zhao, obviously one of his big champions over the course of the split so far. I was thinking about Matislaw, but I couldn't go for him because I've already picked Raxo and Stefan, so I was looking for another mid laner. I obviously wanted, I think obviously it's a no-brainer to put Lucker. And I decided on Sinmivak purely for flattery reasons. But obviously you've got to have Lucker in. I think Lucker and Raxo would work well together. So I'm just making that random assumption based on absolutely nothing. And then I was looking for a mid laner that I thought would work well. In that overall and also I know that one European Masters Shayak was really popping off, so I was like, okay, Shayak, I'm gonna he's got potential. I've seen him play on the big stage before, and he garnered a lot of hype, so I decided to go for Shayak because that.
I mean, there's a lot of really good mids, right? And for me, it was literally just trying to think which playstyle I need and don't need, and I feel like if you have Steph and Raxo, you have the area Shayak really gives your team kind of covered, right? So now I'm choosing between Matislaw and Cress. And I'm literally just going by Sinmivak telling us about how it's all super fun, happy time. Everybody dancing around in a circle, just bouncing off each other's ideas, loving life, loving each other, you know, giving respect to everyone's ideas equally, and just figured Cress and Lucker must have pre-built synergy somehow here, you know, so it must work out. And honestly, they both play the fights really well right now, so I just would rather not break that up. Otherwise, I'd gladly go Matislaw. Like, this guy's just going strength to strength every year for sure. Cress is so impressive because he's in a league with Matislaw, and Matislaw Shayak aren't just like complete dominating, you know. To be able to stand out in a league with these two guys already in it is pretty intense, to be honest.
I want him Matislaw because clearly I think he's been one of the most prolific like Polish mids outside of the LEC, right? But I'd already chosen 2 people from from his team. So I couldn't have him, but I think Matislaw also probably one of the most famous Polish mids as well. He's got a lot of support behind.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's that for a reason because he's been so good from so many.
But if I wanted
items get buffed, so you know.
Actually, true. I mean, I think Matterstall's really fine while Moonstone and Chevaliers are in the states that they're in, by the way. Like, I actually think that kind of, like, poke mage, but also just ardent slut meta is really good for him, so, yeah.
See, that's something I wanted to ask Simnivak, because like in the NLC and a fair bit in the LPL, there's been a lot of teams who like ban Lulu Karma like first rotation every single draft. Like normally one team bans both of them. Is there a reason like you feel Ultraliga teams aren't doing this? Because I feel like the amount they get through is like a lot more than I've seen in the other regions I've been casting.
To be honest, I'm not sure about that Lulu Karma stuff because from I have seen on scrims and in official games, some teams play it and some teams just completely skip them. So I think if those picks don't fit the team identity, I think teams are just banning it.
Yeah.
So I guess some teams in Ultraliga can play it and can like play them well, but some teams just ban them or just skip them.
That's fair.
Okay, explain your picks, then, Sinmivak.
I mean, I picked Lacker for obvious reasons. I
That's everyone's explanation for Laka, so don't worry.
I picked Chaik on mid lane and Bruins on jungle because they play it a lot together, and I think they try to do a lot of stuff as mid jungle, and they have really good like synergy. I would say they used to play in the past for like more than 2 years, like overall. I think they played together for more than 2 years, and I think Raxo could fit that team very well in terms of aggression on the map because he's trying to do a lot of stuff. So if we have good mid jungle and we would give good support to that in addition, and I think it could it could work very well in terms of playing aggressive on the map. And yeah, me because I can play weak side for like it's fine. I can do it. If needed, maybe I will play something useful and be useful for the team. But overall, I think that team would be very aggressive and it would try a lot of stuff on the map.